This is episode 5 of I finally found a name of the Freemium podcast.
All right.
I don't know if it's a good name or not, but I was so frustrated, so I'm getting off topic again. So,
No.
welcome to episode 5 of the Freemium podcast. Today's guest, we got Mr. Dave Rose
Hi,
of Smoke
Curtis.
Show Hot Sauce.
It's a pleasure to be here, baby.
And tell us, introduce yourself.
I mean, Dave Rose, 7 years ago, I had some sort of out of mind decision to start a hot sauce company. And here I am, been dragging myself through the mud ever since. And yeah, you know, that's really what defines me now, is the fact that I run this smoke show. It's a growing business that has gone through the ringer, and it's the best fucking thing ever. Other than that, I'm a father, and I recently started woodworking.
Interesting.
I got into woodworking
That's a
because I'm a
curveball.
dad now. Yeah, it's just like dad shit you do
'Kay.
when you like have a kid. You're like,
Got
I'm
it.
gonna just make a table.
It's like, what do? You just go into the garage and start cutting shit?
I have a shed in my backyard
Okay,
that
great.
I've converted into like a woodworking shop.
Okay.
And it's not, there's no power, so like I run one shitty extension cable from my house into my shed.
Okay.
And yeah, I like to make things with like hand tools, so like no power tools. All my tools are like over 100 years old,
So you're a handy dude.
like handy enough. Like if I had to like take that door off the hinge, like I can figure that out, you know what I mean? And if I had to like build you some very simple furniture, I could probably do that as well. But like by no means am I some sort of pro woodworker.
I think I honestly, and I'm not even joking, I think I could be on Canada's worst handyman.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't I like gardening. I like doing landscaping. I like doing all that kind of stuff. For whatever reason, when it comes to fixing shit inside the house, I don't have the patience to, you know, when you're like playing with things, you got to get the nail in and you got to get glue it together, and the precision, the accuracy.
Yeah.
I have no patience for that. Like
Yeah.
I get a feeling in my stomach of hatred and disgust.
Yeah. That I get that. And there's some woodworkers actually who are like super precise, and everything is like measured a billion times, and they cut things super precise. But I make like what's referred to as country furniture,
Okay.
which is like the opposite of that. You know, you could fucking make a table that isn't like actually straight, and it's fine. No one will ever know because the table looks like it's, you know, 100 years old and whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have a funny story. One of my buddies, Brent, I'd like to get him on the podcast actually, and he made us. This is back in the day when I was a student at Concordia. So it was me, my buddy Pete, my buddy Eric. So it's 3 of us we're like 20, 21 years old. So you can students. So you can imagine what it's like there.
Oh yeah,
My
I was there. I've
Yeah.
been there.
And my buddy Brent he built this table for us randomly. He's like, "Oh, it's a housewarming gift." We're like, "Oh, thanks so much." It lasted the whole year, and then finally on St. Paddy's Day, we threw this party, and everyone was dancing on the table, and everyone was just like, you know, throwing shit. I think we had like 80 people inside of like a 1,000 square foot apartment, and it didn't make it through St. Paddy's
Yeah,
Day, but
that-
it had a good run up until St. Paddy's Day.
That'll do it, man. You know, St. Patrick's Day, 80 people put his craft to the test. You know.
Yeah, it was a good
That's it.
party though. But so Dave, you're a Montrealer.
Born and raised.
We've known each other for a while now. It's probably like where did we meet? Abbott, I want to say.
Yeah, probably
Abbott.
Abbott. You know, I think West Island. We all skate
Yeah.
on a pretty small rink, and we all kind of know each other and know the same people and go to the same places. And yeah.
Yeah, and so tell me. So you said you started Smoke Show Hot Sauce. Or Smoke Show, the brand, we'll call it that. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's more than just hot sauce now.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like spices. There's all that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff as well. I was snooping around on the website, doing my homework.
12 products now,
There we
baby.
go. We're gonna get into all this.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you get started in hot sauce? Or I'll start. Why did you want to start Smoke Show?
Okay, so Smoke Show was started really for lack of a better choice, in the sense where like I was working, I was shucking oysters at Joe Beef,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I would work in the restaurant industry at the time in my life. Like I would work all winter, and then I would just go travel during the summer. Like I had,
Yep.
that was it. That was like my whole thing. But then I turned, 24, and I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't sustainable. I'm like, maybe I can't just do this my whole life. So, but regardless, like that was like what was going on in the back of my mind. But when it came to actually making our first product, which is our hot sauce, I just was super hungover. Went to my parents' house on Sunday, like we have family dinner at my parents' place.
Yeah.
And I was feeling like super unproductive, and I was like, I need to do something today, like just like really fueled by like guilt and like, like hangover anxiety.
It's not a nice feeling.
No. So I went to the at the time I was living in St. Henry. I went to the Atwater Market. I bought some jalapenos. I'd been like watching a ton of YouTube videos on like how to make hot sauce and different stuff like that. And so I brought the jalapenos to my parents' place, and I was charring them. I knew I wanted to like char the jalapenos before making a sauce with them because I just thought it would taste better. And by pure coincidence, my brother was cooking dinner for us that night, and he was smoking ribs. Like we have a smoker at my parents' place, and he had ribs in the smoker. And on my way in to the kitchen, like we kind of looked at each other. We had this like moment of fraternal telepathy, and we were just like, fuck, we should smoke these peppers, and like threw them in the smoker just for like a half hour. And then I brought in those smoked charred peppers, threw them in the blender. And then the original recipe that I was like that I had thought about included sugar. Like most hot sauces will have a bit of sugar just to kind of like chill like the spice out a little bit. And I was like, man, you know what? Instead of like, we just charred and smoked these peppers. Like fuck, like instead of using regular boring sugar, I was like, let's use maple syrup. So I used maple syrup to sweeten the whole thing.
So this is a total experiment.
Complete experiment.
Okay.
Like no, like, oh, I'm gonna start a business. Like nothing.
No, that's you're just trying to make a good sauce. That's all you're trying to do.
Yeah. Just to have in my fridge and whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I made a sauce. I put it in like a squeeze bottle, and I brought it home, and like I used it once on my eggs, and I was like, oh, like this is cool, whatever. And then about, I don't know, 2 weeks later, I had a party. A bunch of restaurant people came over, and we were just like barbecuing in my backyard, and someone asked for hot sauce, and I went into my fridge, and like, the sriracha was there, and I was like, oh wait, hold on, I got this bottle of hot sauce I made. I may as well like just serve it. So I put it on the table, and sure enough, the next morning when I was cleaning up, the bottle was like empty.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, like they, this whole, there's a bottle of hot sauce,
what
I mean? I was like, this is gone, like it's gone. I was kind of bummed because I wanted to like have some. And then later on that day, 2 people called me, like 2 completely like separate people, unsolicited, just called me up and were like, hey man, like can you make some more of that? Or like, are you planning on making more of that green sauce? Like it was so good. Like what was in it? No. And then like a light went off, and I was like, shit, 2 people were here yesterday, got wasted, but then like found the time today to call me and ask me if I can like make them more sauce. So a light went off in my head, and I was like, shit, maybe I will start selling this stuff. So I brought it to, Drinkery in St. Henry?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I used to go there a lot.
Yeah.
And I brought it probably that night I made some more, and I brought it to the manager there. And I was like, try it in a Bloody Caesar. Because like I was like, if we're going to sell this thing, like I want to get it in all restaurants, bars, like across the board. So sure enough, like he made a Caesar with it. Instead of Tabasco, he used this. So like the smokiness and the sweetness and like everything just like was incredible. Like it was like, it's so good in Bloody Caesars. And he was like, bring me a case like as soon as you can. So I was like, okay. So then I had to like go home, think of a name, think of a bottle to put it in, because I wasn't gonna bring it to a fucking mason jar.
And you were you planning on making each sauce handmade and kind of just putting it into like a box or something?
Yeah. Dude, I made that sauce. So like that's how it started. I brought him a case. I gave him a case of 12 bottles of sauce. I came up with the name Smoke Show because at the time it was just like a word that was being used. Like, it still is, luckily for me, but like back then it was like, people were just like throwing that word around, and I was like, okay, well the peppers
Smoke
are
Show is kind of like, for whenever I think of Smoke Show, it's kind of like I just think of like a really good looking girl.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that girl's a smoke.
Yeah. Exactly. I've girl, guy, like I've heard girls refer to
course,
guys.
yeah,
It's like,
goes both ways,
exactly.
Yeah.
And
But very, very positive connotation with the word. Like,
Yeah,
smoke
we
show.
used to use it more like when we had a crazy night out. We'd be like, "Oh, dude, last night was like a fucking smoke show." Like, we got, like, but again, this is like 20, whatever, 14 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And so yeah, that was it. I brought him 12 bottles that I literally blended in my kitchen, and luckily I had written down the recipe, and he gave me $60 for the 12 bottles, and I was like, hey, my idea just turned into a business.
Did you get a chance to like put the branding on the bottles, or there were non-branded bottles at the time?
They were branded, but all it said, like, there was no nutritional value. There was no. And I'll tell you a funny story about nutritional value. But
Yeah,
there was no nutritional value. There was no ingredients. Nothing. It just said Smoke Show written on like a little shitty, like plastic.
Was there
like,
a picture?
sticker.
Was there a picture of your face too? Kinda
No,
like just
no, dude. That man, we were talking about branding about hot sauce. That was like one thing from the get go. I was like, if I'm starting a hot sauce, like, for some reason, the hot sauce industry, it's like accepted to have branding that literally looks like a 12-year-old was like,
Yeah.
this is the one we're gonna do. You
Yeah.
know, like the guy eating the hot sauce and like his ass, like there's fire coming out of his ass. Or like the skull with the sombrero. Like, it's so juvenile. And I was like, why does it have to be this way? You know what I mean? Like, I never got it. So that was exactly what we didn't want. I was like, dude, fuck that. Like, let's just keep it simple. It was in a clear bottle. You could like, even the sticker we put on it was clear, and you could see the product you're getting, you know? So that was it for me. Like, I wanted something that looked cool. Like, a lot of people go to the SAQ and they buy a wine.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know like the
No.
difference between a fucking Pinot Noir or Gamay or whatever. They're just buying a bottle because they want a bottle
I'm like
of
that
red.
too. I'm like that too. Like, but I'm aware of the fact that I'm like that. When I go into a grocery store, go get wine, go get whatever, I'm a sucker for nice branding or nice
That's
marketing.
it.
Like,
That's
it
it.
makes a difference.
Right. And so like that'll like, what'll get people to buy it. And then when they bring it home and it's like good, they're like, oh, I'm like, this is perfect. You know what I mean? So that was it. I knew the product. I knew once the people tasted the product that like they would be into it. I just needed to figure out a way to like get them to want to buy it. And if I'm on a wall full of hot sauce, like just with some shitty label on it that just doesn't stand out, then forget it. So that's what I did. I use that mentality of like, oh, I'm gonna buy this wine because the label looks cool and because I'll Instagram it and because whatever. And then if it's good, like, are locked in. So that was it. We recently rebranded, but the original that was like the concept for the whole original brand was just like make it stand out, as much as possible, and then let the sauce kind of sell itself.
This is an interest. I didn't think there was that big of a story to kind of just like, it's like, and this happens a lot where it kind of just happens by fluke when you're making something. And so what's this rebrand that you guys are doing right now? Because it used to be, I'm trying to go off memory, I used to buy the aioli. I haven't bought it in a while because it's like, and we'll get into that later. Like, when I used to go to Metro, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't see it in the usual place.
Yeah,
anymore.
no, we scrapped all that shit.
Okay.
My whole business has changed this year, actually.
Okay, we're gonna get into all this,
yeah.
but it's like, I remember the branding. So I bought the green sauce, the original, and I
Yeah.
used to buy the aioli.
Yeah.
And it was like a plastic, just like a plastic bottle, and then it would say Smoke Show on it.
Yeah, so Smoke Show was written vertically. So like the concept, like the original one, it said Smoke Show vertically. Eventually, like also vertically, we wrote like lightly smoked jalapeno hot sauce,
Yes.
whatever. But like that was like the least scalable thing because the next product we released also, which was the aioli, said Smoke Show vertically again, and then it said lightly smoked jalapeno aioli, also vertically. And the aioli, like the actual like descriptive word on that, which is aioli, was written in like size 4 font, and it was written vertically. So like, unless you knew what it was, if it was on a shelf in a store, you had no idea. Like, you had to read something that was like so small. And then we just kept releasing like, our barbecue sauce, our ranch. It was all written vertically, and it was all really, really small. And it was just Smoke Show that was written huge. So I was like, man, this is crazy. So now we've changed everything. We have a black label. All like Smoke Show is not on the forefront. Now it's like, it'll say ranch in like huge writing horizontally because that's how people read.
Did you work with any company to do this rebrand?
No.
You guys did it yourself?
Yeah, I came up with the concept. I was working. It was all done internally. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that the whole rebrand was just done pretty quick. It was like loosely based off like, the spices. Anyways, I don't need to get into the weeds here, but we're really happy with it, and it's we're seeing like an increase for sure, because people now aren't like questioning what's this yellow sauce like on the shelf. Now it clearly says like Dijonnaise across the front.
Did
of
you
it.
run any tests before you did that,
Fuck
or you
no.
just nothing? Eh?
No.
There was no what's that called? Like not a blind test, like a sample size
Yeah,
or something like that.
yeah.
So you're like, no, I think this is gonna work. You started it, and
That's
seems
it.
to be
That's
working.
it. And to be honest, maybe I should have, but we act, especially like with the year we just had, like we act very fast at Smoke Show, and I
How many people are you guys, by the way?
right now we're 6 full-time
people.
employees. We
Okay.
don't manufacture anymore, so that takes out like a big we're just basically a sales company at this point.
Got it.
Like we're just like sales and marketing, but we
And so you basically you just go to like a manufacturing plant that can manufacture food, and you just give them the ingredients, and they'll make the sauce for you guys.
Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that, because you need to have like a certain amount of volume. So I got guys,
it.
people all the time hitting me up
Makes
like,
sense.
yo, dude, I have this really good sauce. I'm thinking, or like any food product. Oh, I want to start selling it. Like, do you know a manufacturer? It's like, yo, there's no easy way out of this. Like, you need to make it yourself and sell the shit out of it until you have X amount of locations, and then you bring it to a manufacturer, and then they'll make it. But if you go to a food manufacturer and you're like, oh, I want to start this business, I have $0 in revenue, I'm selling in 0
Yeah.
stores, can you make this for me?
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, okay, fine, but our minimum is $10,000 worth of whatever.
That was my question. Like, typically speaking, if you're going to a manufacturer, what is the minimum contract, if that's what you want to call it? What's the minimum amount of revenue that you need to give to them? Like, is it 100,000, 50,000?
Yeah, there's a huge spectrum. Like, there's like one company called Morehouse that comes to mind. Like they, I talk to one of their VPs regularly. They're absolutely way too big for us. Like they do all like
What's their minimum?
Their minimum for one SKU is a full day of production, which is it's like 9,000 cases of one product. Yeah, so it's huge.
They're in Montreal, these guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do like all the My mustard, like the legit like old style Dijonnaise, or like Dijon, like straight up like. So they sell to like every Costco across North America. They sell to like every big chain grocery, like insane volume.
This is so interesting. I did not know this. I knew that it was like this with your business, but is this standard across condiment industries where they kind of outsource the manufacturing?
Oh, everyone, man.
Really?
Like okay.
And
so
it's to a third party. It's not even. It has nothing to do with the.
Yeah.
So let's say Dijon. What's the brand that makes Dijon? I know exactly what you're talking
about. MAILLE. They're a French company. Yeah.
Got
it. They're based in France. Like they're not shipping stuff here. They go to a company here called Morehouse that has like pretty good production capabilities, and they're like, hey, here's our contract. Here's what we want to pay. Make it happen.
You're
like, yes or no.
This is how you make
yeah,
it.
Exactly.
Kind of.
And then they'll shake hands. They'll do like, they'll lock in for a term 4 or 5 years, whatever, and they'll just bang out thousands and thousands of bottles a day of this mustard. It's huge. So like, we now are like dealing with a few different manufacturers. But prior to all of this, like if you want to go back a little bit to like getting this company off the ground, like it was every weekend I would make sauce on the weekend by hand, and then I would sell it like throughout the week, get orders, and then make more sauce and then sell it. And like that was
just in time inventory.
Yeah, literally. It was crazy.
When you were doing the sales, were you doing door to door? Were you doing, because you already had a pretty, because you worked in restaurants, you must have had a already good network and stuff like that where you could sell to existing restaurants around the Montreal area, I would guess.
Yeah, I knew a lot of people in the restaurant industry, but like the people I knew, like for example, Nora Gray, okay? Like I would bring them a case of sauce, but like they're a fucking Italian restaurant. Like they're not, the chef's never going to use it on a dish, right? Because she's going to just make her own and it's going to be better.
Yeah.
and then they leave it at the bar. So like for a Bloody Caesar or whatever, like people would do. Then like Joe Beef started serving it on their oysters, which was like big because they do a ton of oysters, and also at the time they were like considered like top restaurant in Canada.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people were coming, from all walks of life. Like
When they were serving the oysters with the smoke show, would you see the smoke show brand, or was it just like in a little ramekin? They
put it in a fucking bottle, not like our friends at Loic who put it in a bullshit little container. And I'm like, put it in the bottle, like people steal the bottles. I'm like, dude, who cares? Anyways, so I'm just goofing around, but
half goofing around.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's the restaurant like industry really like helped me, and then Mandy's, like getting into Mandy's, that changed everything. You want to hear a crazy fucking story?
Yes, because I'm pissed right now. Just a little side note: when I go to Mandy's now, recently I always go to the one on Sources. The salads are great and the service is always fantastic, so I don't want to say it's bad service or anything like that. But I used to love adding Smoke Show to I get the same salad every single time. I get the Endless Summer.
Yeah.
And I used to love adding Smoke Show to
yeah.
it. They don't have Smoke Show anymore.
What?
Bro, they do not have Smoke Show anymore.
Like in the kitchen or for sale or both?
Definitely not in the kitchen, or they're lying to me.
I'm calling fucking Kelsey Hobbs, bro. I'm calling Kelsey Hobbs.
So because I used to and now they're giving me sriracha. It's not the same. I don't want sriracha.
Are you serious? They're giving you sriracha?
I'm dead serious.
Okay,
and bro, I don't go there once a month. I'm there like 1 to 3 times a week.
I'm gonna fix this, guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
So crazy story. Okay, this is this is how I closed Mandy's. Okay, so at the time I had left briefly. Joe Beef, Max, our friend Max, opened Majestic.
Maxi boy.
Yeah, he opened Majestic on Saint Laurent. He hired me there to shuck oysters, and at the time I was like peddling sauce on the weekends. I would make sauce, and actually Majestic started buying it and serving it on their oysters. So Lisa, who owns Nora Gray, comes in with Rebecca, who owns Mandy's. Okay,
got it.
She's Mandy's sister.
Yeah,
and they have the oysters. Blah blah blah.
Okay, there's a lot of names. I'm not good with names.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Cool. But just the owner of Nora Gray and the Mandy's owner.
Yeah, like two very legit business owners come in, and I'm just like just serving them and shucking oysters. Yeah, and I was really feeling sick. Okay, I was like feverish. I got begged to come in to work that shift, and I was like, okay, like fine, I'll come in. I was like really sick, and I knew Lisa, and she introduces me to Rebecca, and they have the oysters, and Rebecca asked me, she goes, oh, I hear you make this hot sauce. Yeah, I was like, yeah. She goes, okay, well, I own Mandy's. I had no idea. I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. She's like, we'd love to, like, we're looking for a good hot sauce. Like, can you bring us a case on Monday? This was a Thursday. I'm like, yeah, no problem. That weekend, I'm still feeling very sick. I go home back to my parents' place because like that's where the smoker was, and I have to make the sauce because I got to bring a case to the Mandy's on Crescent downtown. At the time, I think they had just that location and the Sherbrooke location, and I'm not even joking. I'm like making the sauce and I'm so sick. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm feverish. Everything's hurting. All fucked up. Okay.
Can you get like germs and viruses into sauce?
No, you can't. You can't. And anyways, I was like boiling it. I was safe. Don't ask me about how my, the
quality
health,
control. I don't know about
back
that.
Back then
Dave.
it was, I did what I had to do.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I make some sauce for the next week's delivery. And then she told me to bring it in on Monday. Okay. So Monday morning I wake up and I'm like in a pool of sweat. Okay. Ugh. I have like night sweats. I'm like fucked up.
Yeah.
Still so sick. And I'd literally just been like fueling myself on DayQuil all day, like just drinking out of the bottle, just, 1 foot in front of the other, whatever. Like this will go. I end up, I decide Monday. So like 1 block over from Mandy's on Crescent is my GP, my doctor. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go see my doctor. Maybe I'll get some medicine and then I'll go deliver this case to Mandy's right after. Like it was like next door. So I go to the doctor, and he's like a family friend. And he like listens to my lungs. He goes, your lungs sound a bit fucked up. Like, can you go upstairs and get a chest x-ray? So I'm like, yeah, okay, like no problem. So I go upstairs to like the x-ray place. I get a x-ray and I come back down and he comes back in the room, and again, this is like a family friend of ours. The guy is like pale. He like looks very uneasy, and I'm like, Charlie, what's up? He like sits down, and he showed me an X-ray of my heart, of my chest that I had done like a few months prior for some other shit. And then he shows me the one I just took. My heart was like swollen, like it was like 3 times the size. Okay, it was like a huge black circle on the X-ray.
So this is a problem.
This is and there's fluid in my lungs. So
my
this
God.
is a fucking huge problem.
It's like you need to go to the emergency
He's
room.
like, did you drive here or do I call an ambulance? Like, which one is it? And I was like, no, like I'll just drive. He's like, go immediately right now to the ER. He wrote some shit on a piece of paper. He's like, don't wait in line. Don't do anything. Show them this paper. They're going to take you right in. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm literally freaking out.
Okay.
I end up getting rushed to the hospital, or I rush myself to the hospital, and they take me in. The lady, like the nurses, take me in right away. They strap me up to like an EKG to like measure my heart rate and shit. And super unprofessional of them. They were like 2 nurses. They look at each other and they go like, "Oh my God!" Like they whisper, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" I'll never forget it. They're like, "Stay here." They like bring me into a room. Head cardiologist comes in. And then he starts asking me like all these crazy questions.
Yeah.
And
throughout this time, are you just thinking about, fuck, I gotta get that box of hot sauce to Mandy's?
Yeah. So it was still in my car, right?
Yeah.
So they start asking me all this shit about my health, and they're asking me like, you know, do you inject drugs? And like, do you have unprotected? Like they're asking me the fucking HIV questions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, I don't have fucking HIV, okay?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? They're like, your heart is completely swollen. There's fluid in your lungs. Like, these symptoms are, like, often happen. No. Anyways, I don't have HIV, nor did I ever. But I ended up having to stay a week in the hospital. They had to drain the fluid from my heart. They blamed it on a viral infection, okay?
Okay.
I'm posted up in the hospital for a week. My sister comes to see me. My whole family thinks I'm dead, okay? And my sister comes to see me, and she's like, "Hey, Dave, is there anything I can do for you? Anything you need?" And I'm like,
And you're like, yes, there is.
I tell her, I'm like, on my on the passenger seat of my car, parked in the parking lot at the hospital. There's a case of hot sauce. I need you to bring it to Mandy's like right now. She's like, "What the fuck?"
And we're still Monday. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
still
same
Monday?
day,
Okay,
same.
so
Of course,
still
of course.
Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they got it. So my sister brought it. Shout out my sister who now works for me. And
There you go.
And turns out. So I get out of the hospital a week. I go to Florida. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm taking a week off. I need to relax. I'm gonna go to Florida. Come back from Florida. Get a call from infectious diseases at the Jewish. Okay, because I was being followed by a cardiologist.
Yeah.
I get a call from the head of infectious diseases. I'm like, what the fuck? Turns out I had fucking tuberculosis.
Jesus Christ.
I contracted tuberculosis, a fucking
Is
Victorian era bullshit disease that no one gets.
Isn't tuberculosis? It's a bacteria or a virus?
I think it's both. Bacterial infection. I don't even know.
It's
a virus.
It's
a
on
virus.
the laptop today. Okay.
It's a viral.
Yeah. It's viral.
It's viral, and it attacked my heart. It developed around my heart.
Jesus.
So it was called pericardial tuberculosis, and what happened was all this fluid started accumulating around my heart. They told me that had I not gone to the hospital, I would have been dead in 6 days. My like resting heart rate was like 180 BPM. Yeah, it was crazy. I told that story to like Mandy.
6 days, like from the Monday, or 6 days from
that
the
day. They're like, you
day.
had 6 days. Like that was it.
I get you must have been feeling like a total piece of shit to like have gone, because usually if you're sick Thursday, by the Monday, typically speaking, your symptoms should be improving if it's like a regular cold.
Yeah,
or
that's what I
virus.
thought.
And I guess, and you still felt like shit. So you're like, okay, something's up. I need to go get.
And like, not to sound like an absolute cliche entrepreneur, but like my business was like, I was getting really good feedback. Like orders were coming in. You know, that would never happen. Like usually I would go pitch someone. They'd say like, bring me a case. Now I'm getting calls. People are like, hey, we need more. Can you bring us more?
Yeah.
You know, like a recurring business. I was like, oh my God, like this is it. Like it's slowly starting. So I was just like, this'll go. So I just I toughed it out until I couldn't anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
What is it like working with family? Because you work with,
Amazing.
so you just said your sister.
Amazing.
And is your brother still working
My
there?
brother's a partner. My
Okay.
brother owns a small percentage of the business.
Okay.
But I also work with my cousin.
And in your family, it's you three. You have a sister and a brother, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, my brother on paper is a founder, right?
Okay.
He was involved early on, would help, make sauce and whatever. And it was just normal to me that he'd become a partner. But I love working with family. I mean, listen, I don't know, you don't know my family, but there's a lot of, there's some crazy people in my family that I wouldn't necessarily work with. You have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
But
there's definitely and every single time you ask this question, and I think it's just like anything else in life, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. You just hope that, the pros outweigh the cons. For the most part, when you work with family, I would agree. I think the pros would definitely outweigh the cons. You're more comfortable with working with family and stuff like that. You'll speak your mind a little bit more. But I find sometimes because you'll be maybe that extra 50% or 100% blunt when you're asking them or just trying to discuss something. Okay, I think we should take this route. No, I think we should take this route. I think it just kind of sometimes the arguments can get messier.
Yeah, so I was very clear when I hired my sister that I'm her boss.
Yeah.
I will fire her if I have to, and nothing is given, and I treat her with the same.
How long has she been working there for now?
She's I think 5 or 6 months.
It's Emily, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So she was working in a daycare. She did early childhood care education, and she was just wasn't feeling it anymore.
Got it. And what's she doing at Smoke Show now?
Sales, B2B sales, and is absolutely a beast.
Nice.
And it's funny because on paper, she was if I had just put a job posting out and she came in and was like, I want this job, and I looked at her CV, it said early childhood care education, worked at a daycare, was a nanny or whatever.
Doesn't fit the bill.
No, it doesn't fit the bill.
No.
But the one thing about my sister that I knew for sure is that she's very organized, and she's a great people person. She can talk Olympic levels of and that's really, at least for my business, what helps sell.
And organization goes a long way, especially because it's typical. A lot of salespeople that I've worked with, they're great. They're great at sales. They're great at speaking to people. But if they're not organized, you have to stay organized with your follow-ups.
Yeah.
You have to.
That's it.
And if you're not, you're not going to be an effective salesperson.
Yeah.
And
So
it's just
that's what I look for when I hire sales, because we were always working with distributors.
Yeah.
Selling our products. They would buy our products and then sell it at a 30%. And that's how distributors make their money. And
here, let's back up a little bit. Okay, so basically we got Smoke Show, okay, or Montrose Foods.
Yeah,
that's the official name of the.
It's Montrose Foods.
Okay. But we got that. So just correct me if I'm wrong. I think I understand pretty well. So let's just call it Smoke Show. It's a little easier to remember.
Yeah.
It's manufactured by a third party.
Yeah.
Okay. And then basically you'll use third party distribution companies to distribute. And then you guys are pretty much just the branding and sales team. Is that and service? Is this correct?
That was how it was for a while.
All right,
In fact,
let's dive into this. Let's give us the picture, because it's the point of this podcast again. So it's to kind of we'll talk about other shit, but it's an unfiltered business podcast, and people trying to get into consumer packaged goods industries and stuff like this. I want to give them,
I have a very unique outlook on it, and in fact, the way I've rebuilt my whole business model because of it. So
Great.
we just said from the get go, as soon as I got into enough stores, I got brought on by a distributor who was distributing Joe Beef stuff and really high end, all the Mandy stuff. He was legit, very legit.
Yeah.
And I was okay, we're chilling. We I'm good to go. This guy's gonna sell my shit all over the place.
I just sorry to interrupt. Is this the guy? Remember the story you told me at Clark Cafe, where you met this guy at a trade show and the relationship went south?
Oh fuck no! Dude.
Okay, we'll tell that later.
That company's gone now.
Oh, they're gone.
Yeah. Anyways,
Okay.
so this was this guy. His company is called Favuzzi. They're fucking amazing. I love them. They did really good things for us.
Okay.
But for 5 years they were selling our product. So at the time we were literally a marketing company. I didn't even have in-house sales because that's what the distributor does. So just to put the numbers in perspective, I would sell a bottle of my sauce to Favuzzi for $4.90. He these are today numbers. He would sell it for $7.50 and the store would sell it for $12. That's the economics of it.
Yeah.
And that's how it went. So we're talking slim margins. Like I'm selling a bottle for $4.90
Yeah.
of one bottle.
And, and what would it cost you to make?
It depends. It varies. My margins would hover around like 35%, which is like industry standard, but I don't know. To me, it just didn't make sense. So we operated that way, but then we saw like a, uptick early on. Of course, we got listed in Metro, got listed in IGA. And then things kind of plateaued like over a year, even when Favuzzi went from like Quebec only to selling across Canada, again, another little uptick, but like plateau early on. And he was doing volume, but with like the margins that we had, it was like nowhere near enough. Like we needed to sell way, way, way more. So so the Favuzzi contract was Canada exclusive, all of Canada. He was the only guy selling Smoke Show. We're talking like all grocery, all B2B, like like high-end grocery, butcher shops, and big chain. All Canada except with Ontario. Okay, his business did not operate in Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hired someone internally.
Got it.
To sell to Ontario.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
So you had internal distribution just for Ontario.
Just for Ontario. So basically, my guy Jared, shout out, he's like sales manager, absolute beast. He started pitching places in Ontario,
and he was pitching more restaurants. He was pitching.
Oh no. Like this was like only B2B. No restaurants. Sorry, I should clarify. No restaurants. Only grocery stores. Okay. Retail grocery. Okay.
Yep.
Small guys. Okay. Because like we were. Okay. So let me take a step back. We were in. So Jared's doing his thing, okay? We come up with the sales process where what we do is we qualify the lead, we send them a starter pack, which is all of our best selling sauces. We send a note saying, hey, my name's Jared. I work for Smoke Show. I found your store on Instagram, and I think our products would be a great fit. Here, try them. So the store receives this starter pack, tries the sauces, sees the letter, loves the sauces, and 60% of the time is converting into an order, okay? So they're like, yeah, no problem. We'll take, a case of each, whatever. Oh, cool. So now we're sending a case of each, but we're not selling at $4.90 a bottle. We're selling at $7.50 a bottle.
Got it. So your margins
my
just
margins
went way up.
Fucking skyrocketed.
Yeah.
But only in Ontario.
Got it.
So I'm like, man.
And you're thinking, you're like, fuck, hey, we're onto something here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So in, I want to say 2021 in like the spring, I leave Favuzzi, and I get a call from another distributor who literally sells me the dream. And this was like, as an entrepreneur, you make fucking mistakes, and they were a huge mistake that I made. They were like, we're gonna distribute your stuff. They were young guns. Like the CEO had this huge company before, whatever. And they sell me the absolute dream. We kill the Favuzzi contract, and we hand it all over to this company, and my left shoe could have sold more than they did. They couldn't figure it out.
And this is the company where you had that issue at the trade show.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk that?
Yes. So COVID hits because like we.
So this is the tangent on basically the explanation of how.
Yeah.
Of the organizational structure of Smoke Show is right now.
So I still have. I'm coming fresh off of like Jared killing it in Ontario.
Yeah. This
company. Brings us on, and they're like, yeah, you guys can keep selling in Ontario, no problem. We'll do the rest of Canada. All right, same. It's literally same.
East and West.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they are selling, but like basically it was a completely lateral move to Favuzzi, but like more headaches. And this is during COVID, so I've never even met these guys.
Yep.
And then there's a trade show. Finally, like COVID's kind of done. This is March of last year. I have a pregnant wife at home. Yeah. She's about to give birth. I'm like, I gotta go to this trade show in the U.S. It's like a huge trade show where we were launching in the U.S. Like, I gotta be there. So Jared and I hop on a flight to Vegas, and the CEO of that distributor hits me up and is like, hey, I saw you guys are going to Vegas. Like, we booked Top Golf, like VIP room, like. Let's meet. Let's have some fun. Let's kick this relationship off.
We've never met before, like face to face.
Never met.
Yeah.
And like they'd been working for us for like 6 months.
Okay.
And right before we met them, I pulled out from their contract Quebec and Manitoba. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm selling to those provinces, including Ontario. You guys can
And
handle.
so
out
Jared
west.
ended up just taking control
Yeah,
of those
yeah,
regions as well.
because
Got
the
it.
margins were doing better, and Jared had
course,
full
yeah.
control over the sales. You
Yeah.
know, so like, yeah, okay, whatever. There was like a little bit of pushback, but ultimately, like they knew
Well, it's
that
your
it was
decision,
exactly,
so yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So we
yeah.
get to Vegas, and it's like a trade show. It's like a huge thing. You know, we're fired up. We hop in an Uber, we leave the trade show, we go to Topgolf to like meet the new guys who are distributing our sauce, and these fucking guys show up so drunk out of their minds, okay, and
Just
like
fully buckled.
yeah, like literally waffle, dude,
Yeah,
like
that's-
can't walk.
yeah, it's
Like,
not-
no, I look, I'm exaggerating. They could walk, they were whatever, but they were like smoke show, like so unprofessional.
Yeah.
And like, look, I'm
It's
not
not
the
okay.
most professional guy in the world, okay? But like, and I get that you're young and you're in Vegas and you work for, you know, this distribution company, whatever. Don't show up at a meeting with a client wasted. You know what I mean?
No.
If you want to have drinks with the client, fuck, go for it. But like,
Yeah.
dude, it's first impression. But like, they
and,
show
and
up
what time of the day was this at?
like 6, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Like it was too early for them to be that wasted.
Yeah.
You know? And anyways, they show up
Okay.
and the two reps that are there are just like pumping Smoke Show's tires. Like they're like, this is the best brand we have. No, we're gonna crush it. The CEO, he's like not stoked because we just took back half the country, and he's like, you guys really fucked me tonight, and he's getting like super like confrontational.
Yeah.
But like, do you know the type, like the drunk confrontational?
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't respond well
and
with that.
you're dead sober.
I'm dead sober.
So you're just looking at
I
him.
just want to hit some balls.
Yeah,
dude.
you're not even taking him seriously, and you're kind of thinking
No.
to yourself, what
And he
did I
starts-
get myself into?
Yeah, and he starts saying shit that's just wrong
Yeah.
about like our inventory levels. And I'm like, dude, this is all fucked up. This is
Yeah.
wrong. Turns into not like a screaming match, but like a pretty heated argument. Well, I'm like, dude, like you're so wrong. Like you run this business, I run my business. You don't have the right numbers. Like as someone who runs a business, you should have like a clear view on things. Like to be honest, because you're kind of like embarrassing yourself right now in front of your employees. It got like pretty brutal. We end up leaving. Jared and I take one look at each other. We're like, that's it. Like, that's the nail in the coffin. Like, fucking brutal. And came home, terminated the contract, everything. Was like
Immediately?
done. Yeah. We took over all of Canada. So in January, we actually, no, it wasn't immediately because I had to respect the contract. So it was like, there was a few months left.
it.
And instead of like being in breach, I was like, you know what? I just won't renew. Also, I ended up getting stuck in the U.S. because I got COVID while I was at this trade show. Shocker. And my wife gave birth like a few days later. So then I had a baby. My baby was born 6 weeks early. Was in the hospital for fucking 2 months. So like I was
Did
just
you
like,
make it back to Montreal in time, or
6 days before?
Okay.
And
That
the only
must
reason I
suck.
got back was because on April 1st they stopped doing tests to get back into Canada
okay.
because I was still testing negative.
Yeah,
Positive. And so I get back on April 1st.
And you're stretched, like, fuck, I gotta get back home. Like,
Yeah. My
wife's
wife's
about to
on
pop
bed
and-
rest,
yeah,
dude. Like
she's-
she was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, going crazy. Like this year's been so out of control. And then yeah, 6 days later, I got back on the 1st. On the 6th, that was it. Sunny joined the world, and so I had to, you know, be at the hospital every day for 2 months. Meanwhile, I'm like juggling inventory issues, juggling like, you know, bitter distributor who like I'm ending things with and whatever. But we brought all sales in house
Got it.
over this last year.
Sales, and when you say sales, it's sales and distribution.
Yes,
right?
because we ship now. So
Got it.
like because our sales team is selling, like my sister, for example,
Yeah.
she
And you
has-
ship using what?
we ship using Pure Later.
Got it.
Yeah, and it's great. So now we sell all of our products. First, all of our products are sold $750 direct to the retailer,
Got it.
and our shipping cost is like 5% of that. So instead of
And what did it used to be using a traditional distributor?
30% at
Oh my
least that they
God, wow.
wanted to take.
Okay.
You know, so my margins
Are
fucking
there-
skyrocketed.
Are there more headaches? I would assume there are more headaches. I mean, if they're charging you 30%, they probably took care of a lot more. So the fact that I understand the fact that your margins right now are higher with the sauce, but you keep hitting that.
Yeah,
thing.
sorry. I also have a fucking huge head, so that's probably part of the problem.
Are there more headaches that comes with having internal distribution?
Yeah. So
Like
immediately
what?
off the bat, so like, okay, so from going from one distributor who sells to 400 accounts to selling to 400 accounts direct, right out of the gate, accounts receivable is fucking headache. Okay,
Yeesh. Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
But we've implemented certain things right now. Any new business, we have to get a credit card on file. We charge it after 14 days.
Yeah.
Automatic.
Yeah.
Instead of chasing people, we used to offer net 30 terms, which is like a banana land thing that like the
Yeah.
food industry operates on net 30 terms. I do not understand.
Got
It's like,
it.
dude, we're selling fucking hot sauce here.
Yeah.
Why are you paying me in 30 days? It's fine.
And typically speaking, so if you're distributing to these 400 clients, what is an average order? Is it
So right now,
$500, is
no,
it?
my average order right now is hovering around like $800.
okay?
You know, they'll do like 800 to 1,000. Usually, like we'll push for a case of each product, and then like.
And
you know.
what's your split of selling directly to restaurants versus selling to grocery chains, for example?
Okay, so another thing that we did when we killed our distributors is we killed all of our listings in big chain grocery, which is another thing food businesses, and like I had this same reaction when we first got listed in Metro and IGA. I was like, bro, we're good, we made it. You know what I mean? Like we're in and everyone was like, bro, I saw you in IGA, I saw you in Metro. Like
Yeah.
people were like, your business is killing it. The truth is okay, so the hot sauce will be in aisle 5 with the hot sauces. Okay, my $10 hot sauce is next to a $3 bottle of sriracha. Then you go 3 aisles down, and then my Dijonnaise is there next to fucking French's yellow ballpark mustard, whatever. It's my whole brand was like all over
Got it.
the store, right? So it had there was zero brand visibility. No one walked through the grocery store and walked
Yeah.
out and was like, wow, Smoke Show's a cool brand. No one even knew it existed.
And I'm going to assume that it's 100% their terms because they're like a big corporation.
They call all the
It's
shots.
Yeah, so they buy it. I would assume, say, we're going to put your sauce wherever the fuck we want to put
yeah,
your sauce.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is a thing that like distributors will kind of like, you know, dangle the carrot in front of you and be like, oh, if you come with us, we'll get you listed in Metro and IGA. You know,
Yeah,
so I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay, let's do it. No one gives a fuck. People go to Metro and IGA as a rule across Quebec
Yeah.
to buy eggs and bread and milk. Okay, they don't give a shit about a $10 bottle of jalapeno hot sauce. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, obviously. The Metro and Westmount, absolute beast. They sell
Yeah.
a lot of Smoke Show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because maybe that demographic, people over there, like they're more experimental or whatever. But you
Yeah.
go to a IGA, like
It also helps a bit. I think it's fair to say the perception that I have of a Smoke Show brand, I mean, it is a little bit more expensive than a regular hot sauce.
yeah,
And people in Westmount, generally speaking, have a higher disposable income. A $10 bottle of
Absolutely.
hot sauce, they're not even thinking twice about
Exactly.
it. Oh, wow, this looks really
Exactly.
good. I've seen this before and it tastes amazing. So,
yeah. So like that was like that's a big thing for us as well, is like to be placed properly. Like for example, we do really well in barbecue stores. So like someone goes
Yes.
in and they buy like a $3,000 Big Green Egg.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about a $12 bottle of hot sauce. So like they'll see it, they're like, okay, well I'm already like spending $4,000 in
Yeah.
the store. So like what's another
What was
12
the
bucks?
term you used? You said you guys are more of a gourmet product. I think that was the term you used once.
Yeah, well, like our whole kind of, I'll say, mission is to domesticate gourmet. You know, like to me, it's like you go to a restaurant and you get like a sandwich, and the waitress is like, oh, and inside there's this lightly smoked jalapeno Dijonnaise. No. It's like that sounds so good.
It does,
you know,
yeah.
but like you can't. There's like a divide that exists where people are like, oh, that's just a restaurant thing. Like I'll only get that in a restaurant. Well, no. You won't. You get it at home too. And like that was like our angle. It was just like that sauce, whether it's a barbecue sauce. Like I remember going to a barbecue restaurant and having a sauce that was like so good. It wasn't sweet. It was like more acidic, and it was like smoky and whatever. And most people's reaction is like, oh, well, I will only ever have this good of a sauce in a restaurant. Well, and then I'll go buy the Kraft barbecue sauce and bring it home. And it's full of sugar and it's fucking sweet, like so
Yes.
sweet.
Yeah.
And I was like, why does it have to be that way? Why does like this product only have to be
At a
a
restaurant.
restaurant?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Because
Like,
it comes across as a homemade sauce.
yeah.
That's what it comes
Yeah,
across
it's
as.
just care. It's just like give a shit about like the ingredients. And like to be honest, listen, like we're not a health brand.
Yeah.
You know, we have 6 of our products are all natural. But like also there's nothing healthy about going to I don't know, Garde Manger and having whatever sauce they're putting on
course.
whatever. Like, there's a certain price for everything. And like to me, I believe like this is absolutely delicious. Okay, you're not eating it every day. It's fine. You want to put a little teaspoon of my Dijonnaise in your sandwich and actually make it delicious. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry. It's like it's all good. You know.
So if let's go back to, I just want to make sure that we're
I
fully.
go off,
Yeah,
I
there's
go
all
off on a
these-
tangent.
there's
Thanks for
there's
keeping
these
me in my
tangents.
lane.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
that's-
fucking,
That's my job.
But
My job is to try and keep.
I
you
have
away.
ADD, Olympic levels of ADD. So if
Let's
I
go
veer-
back to, okay, so the original question, just again, so if like the people that are listening to this, starting a new business when it comes to distribution, because this isn't the first time that, you know, there's a lot of people, and one thing that I'm learning about, you know, not only working here like as in insurance, insuring all these businesses, is just like distribution and logistics. Oh my God, it's everything, especially with the rise of e-commerce.
Yeah.
But again, okay, forget that. That's another tangent. What I'm saying is, so right now, give us the organizational structure of Smoke Show, how you guys are currently operating today.
Yeah. Okay. So today 95% of our revenue
Yeah.
is B2B, straight to retail. Okay.
Yep.
5% is online.
Okay.
Online is good. It's growing. Our margins are great. But like, we saw, like, you know, during COVID, you know, 45% of our revenue was online. But at the end of it, like, I think now that COVID is pretty much done, people have fallen back into love with like brick and mortar and are just buying online less. They're like, oh, I can go to the store. I don't have to wear a mask. I can like be a human again. So like people are now like buying. We're seeing big growth in retail. So we have, as of January 2023, we'll have 2 manufacturers making our sauces.
Okay.
Or 3 manufacturers making our sauces.
Why 3 and not 1? I guess they're closer geographically speaking to the locations you're distributing to.
Well, this past year, like I said, has been a complete nightmare with regards to my business. Well, actually, that's not true. It's just been a big challenge. It was like growing pains. You know, we had to like, to get to where we are now, we had to like pull some teeth and whatever. And like, it was all, the juice was worth the squeeze, baby. It was really worth it. So,
And this is all in an attempt to increase your margins and bring the distribution
exactly
internally.
Exactly. And the problem is when you have one manufacturer, is your chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and they were the weakest link. The demand for Smoke Show was never the issue. The supply was becoming an issue. They couldn't keep up. We outgrew them. They had problems sourcing. They had problems staffing, and like their staffing problems become my problems. You know? So I had no choice, but I had to diversify. You know, and I had to explore other options, and I found someone who's gonna start making my sauces elsewhere. Same recipe, same everything, just made elsewhere. Not only that, but in terms of scalability and in terms of like bringing this thing to where I think it's going to be in 2-3 years. Yeah. Like, I want to have, and it looks much better on paper when you have multiple manufacturers as opposed to one, because if a fire starts in one of these guys, it's over. I'm coming to work here. Like, you know, like not selling insurance, but I'll do something. I'll cook for your staff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have no more business. So, so yes, we buy from 2 manufacturers for the sauces, 1 for the spices. And we hold inventory at our downstairs. We have a warehouse. Yeah.
How much inventory do you hold typically?
As much as we can, but our manufacturers just shits the bed constantly. So we were sold out of it like for the majority of the year. Like, just to like put it in perspective, we probably missed out on like, I'd say about $250,000 in sales.
Ugh, gross.
And like, I don't want to like talk numbers and like whatever, like just in terms of actual sales, people that we would have pitched, that we were planning to pitch, people who couldn't order, can't order, that got canceled.
And this was all because the manufacturers weren't able, or a manufacturer wasn't able to get the product in time to you guys.
Yeah, or just get it to us at all. You know, like our.
And if you guys have, so when you're holding, excuse me, when you're holding the sauces inventory, how long can you keep that for before it goes bad?
Oh, like at least a year.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. It was a huge thing. Yeah. That was a big thing for me. It was like, you know, I know people who have like cold pressed juice companies, and they like, I'm like, what's your shelf life? They're like 3 days. I'm like, dude, are you crazy?
How do you? I don't know how that works.
Even Midday Squares, man, their shelf life. I remember talking to them,
and they have to refrigerate it. They have to.
Yeah,
it's a
very expensive. Very expensive.
Logistically, I bet you that's a nightmare.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no. So like all my products are shelf stable. That was something that like I knew out of the gate. Like when we were launching a new product, it has to be shelf stable. It has to have a shelf life over a year. And
why did you know that?
Because, you know, I knew I didn't want to have to deal with like products going bad. I had a horrible experience when I was making my sauce that the bottle started fermenting as I scaled up my product. As I scaled up
and this was
my
early
recipe.
in the smoke like creating the company.
Exactly. So this was like probably 4 years ago or something. Like I had scaled up my recipe from like a 2-liter blender to like I was making it in like this huge steam pot, like a monster thing. And obviously things change at that level. Like it's not the same. You can't just do like take your recipe times 1,000 and like you're good to go. Like
that's what I thought you did.
Yeah, no. So what ended up happening was bottles, my like pH levels in the sauce got all fucking wonky and bottles started fermenting like a goddamn natural wine. Okay, so like I would get calls from people saying like I opened the bottle and it blew up all over my kitchen. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not fucking. Like someone's like messing with me.
Yeah.
Sure enough, like I got a video from Joe Beef, from the head chef at Joe Beef. He's like, what the fuck's up with your bottle? And he sent me a video, and it was a bottle of smoke show in the sink, and it was just like a volcano. And I was like, oh, he's like, this looks like it fermented, because he like knows wine and whatever. And sure enough, that's what happened. So again, this was when I was making my sauce in like a rented kitchen on Decaria, and I had to go around like pulling bottles off shelves around the city and like doing all kinds of crazy shit. I was like, that was like when I first started having like sleepless nights. Where I'm like, I'm gonna fucking blind someone or something horrible. Like I'm gonna get sued or whatever. I don't know.
How long? Like, did you have to change the process? Did you have to add in a new ingredient?
I needed to find a manufacturer. I knew.
Got it.
I knew that's what I had to do. Yeah, you could put stabilizers, and that's what we did.
Okay.
To kind of like like sulfates, like wine, you know.
And when you go to a manufacturer, typically speaking, like, do you give them all the instructions, or do they? I would assume they probably have already a lot of experience, and they'll ask you questions like, "Hey, do you want us to add this to your manufacturing process? Do you want us to add this?" How does that work? How do you find a manufacturer to make your sauce?
The finding the manufacturer is a lot of like knocking on doors and like sitting with people and explaining to them not just where your business is at, but where you want to take it, and kind of selling them, you know, on yourself and the brand, really, because they like, you know, it's like a serious partnership, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's
it, and
that's a big part of the
I
company.
bring them like
making the sauce. I feel that's like 75% of the company. Like the sauce is the product.
It's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But they want to make sure that like your business has legs, and they want to make sure that it's not run by like a crazy person, and they want to make sure that like, you know, it's your, you know, top of your list.
Is it a big investment for them as well?
Yeah. Like yes and no. Like
I feel because like the way I look at it is like, if I look at like a manufacturer that's going to make the sauce, the way I look at it is, I feel like they already have the factory, they already have all the equipment, they already have. I mean, and I'm assuming you're buying the ingredients and giving it to them. Like,
no,
how
that's it. They it's like turnkey. Like that's where it gets expensive for them. Is like they have to buy all the bottles, they have to buy all the labels. They have to
so
buy
they're putting the costs up front, and you're paying them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is okay.
Exactly.
I get that.
So, what was the question?
There's not really a particular question right now.
No,
just how your sauce started fermenting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the finding the manufacturer was like key. That was like how I knew I had to solve this problem, which we did. You know, I called a guy and he made it happen, and that's it. We never looked back. Now our sauce has been the exact same for like the last 3 or 4 years. You know,
it's delicious, by the way. Your
thank
sauce.
you.
I love your sauce.
People, even my wife, man. My wife like texted me that, because like it's always in our fridge, but like like that hot sauce, like the original hot sauce, like I've literally been soaked in it. I've had, you know, just like too much of that. And she wrote to me like, hey, like just had your hot sauce like with my eggs, it's so good, you know what I mean?
It's delicious.
I was like, fuck yeah, like people still love it, people still are crazy about it. But you know what's crazy? Our aioli outsells our hot sauce like 3-1. Our aioli is like, people be like, oh, you're a hot sauce company. I'm like, it's an aioli company now.
Interesting.
Yeah, we sell so much of that.
And
aioli.
so you guys are only selling. So you're only selling to Canada right now. we're gonna wrap this up again in a
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
little
yeah,
bow for
yeah.
where we're at
Go for it,
in
man.
terms of the podcast right now. So we got Smoke Show. You guys do all the distribution internally. It seems like everything's on track for having the manufacturers to make the sauce. Why don't you sell to the United States right now? I feel like that would just be like a massive fucking market
Yeah.
for you guys. I mean, it's 10 times the population.
Exactly.
Like,
So, it's not by design that we don't. We were supposed to, at the beginning of Q3 this year, that was in our roadmap, was to start
Okay.
pitching in the US using that same business model, sending starter packs, converting at 60%. Our margins in the US are amazing because we get just, it's a 1-to-1, our pricing structure. So you know, a $90
what does that mean? 1 to 1?
like basically a $90 case of Smoke Show here
Yeah.
is $90 US in the States. Like
Got it.
our product retails for $12 in Canada.
Yeah.
It retails for 12 USD there.
Got it.
So when we're selling a case of Smoke Show, like to manufacture in Canada and sell in the US is amazing because you're paying
Yeah.
you're paying CAD to make it
Of
and
course,
you're selling it in USD. So
Yeah.
that was our plan, was just pitch, get, you know, all those USDs. But because of manufacturing issues, we didn't have enough sauce to even start like that project. You know what I mean? So that whole project's been on hold. Now I just locked in a new manufacturer. So I'm interviewing someone tomorrow who I think you know, West Island legend, but I can't say his name yet
No
because
problem.
someone else is going to scoop him up for sure when they find out he doesn't have a job. And
So it's a West Island legend, and this is to find a new
he's
manufacturer.
gonna launch U.S. sales.
U.S. sales.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So,
I
so
found
hold
the
on, hold on.
manufacturer.
You found a manufacturer. Okay,
Mhm.
got it. So
Yeah.
it's someone to handle the U.S. sales.
Exactly.
department.
And then Jared, my sales manager, is moving to LA in February, so he'll be like boots on the ground
Got it.
there for 6 months and just building it that way.
So this, what's the plan for the U.S. of A?
Yeah. So
I'm
basically,
out of coffee. Fuck.
are you?
That's good. Doesn't matter.
The plan is to basically multiply what we've, I don't want to say perfected, but really like honed in on in this last
Optimized,
year.
we'll say.
Yeah, exactly. In the last year, bringing everything in house and selling direct and like having that like visibility and the control on our sales has been like an absolute game changer. Not to mention our increase in margins. It's really changed like the economics of my business like drastically. I've almost doubled my gross profit margins. You know, so doing that now that we know it works in Canada, and we've tested the waters, you know, I think we sent out like, just to see if there was like any sort of drastic thing, we sent out like 20 or 30 starter packs to the US and like converted on like 60 or 70% of them or something like crazy, you know, and they all ordered you know, whatever, $1,000 worth, and it's like now they're, you know, that's it. I was like, that's all we need, you know. So I'll bring someone in-house.
I feel like, and maybe I'm totally off, I feel like you could get some really good partnerships in the South, like in Austin, like in places that kind of,
Absolutely.
you know, brisket's really popular and everything like that. I feel like you guys would really have a lot of success there.
Yeah, we're gonna hit all over, you know, like instead of like aim and then shoot, like when we think we know, I'm just gonna fucking
Just go everywhere.
blast everywhere and aim as we go, you know, and whatever, you know, whoever hits and whoever doesn't. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's the plan is to get, you know, at like 2023 50-50 revenue spread, like Canada, US, and then take it from there. But the value and the potential for growth is like insane, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean,
But I'm happy I waited. I'm happy, sort of cut you off. I'm just happy I waited because now I would have spent my time like looking for more distributors in the US, which eventually I will, because it's so big. And like, it's not like here in Canada, you get a distributor and they're like, yeah, I want Canada wide distribution. But like in the US, usually how it operates is like, you get a guy who's like, yeah, I want all of New Jersey. You're like, yeah, okay, fuck, I don't give a shit. You know, I'll sell to all the other 49 states. So it will be different, but just to get, you know, our toes wet, it's going to be about like selling direct, meeting people down there, going to stores. And like down there, a small chain is like 50 locations. Here you're like, oh, you know, small chain has like 3, 4 grocery stores, like Cavalleros, for example. Like they will have like 4 or 5 locations.
Yeah.
But their small chain is, 10 times that. So it's like, oh yeah, okay.
It's a different game, the U.S. Every time you go to the U.S. for stuff, I mean, it's the population is 10 times bigger. People are, I feel it's like, I would always say there's rich in Canada. There's a lot of rich people in Canada too, but there's rich Canada and there's like U.S. rich, and it's always another level.
Yeah.
Houses are bigger. It's just more wealth. There's more. And I find in the U.S., like I love going down to Florida. I go there all the time, and I just find that the networking capabilities, there's so much more. You're going to meet people that are, well, it's 10x. Everything's 10x.
Yeah, exactly.
And I find there's just more opportunities. And if you want to go to a place and you really want to kind of put your nose to the grindstone, I feel like it's a great country to do it in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember the first time that hit me was one of my very, very close friends who I went to elementary school, high school with. We like carpooled together. He, grew up, pretty well-to-do family, and he was really driven. And he ended up going from Marianopolis to Wharton School of Business, which is like top business school in the U.S. And he was like one of the smartest dudes I know, and came from a very wealthy family. And when he got there, he goes, "Dave, I'm the stupidest and poorest kid at this fucking school." And I was like, okay, things are like, there's a whole thing. I was in CEGEP at the time. I was like 17. I was like, okay. Like there's just more out there that like I don't grasp. But I just want a small piece of the pie. My margins right now, like some people when they start their business, they're like, I'm going to fucking sell this thing in 5 years. I'm going to do this, which is great. Amazing. Like go for it. What I want to build is like a business that is like, has rock solid foundations. I know my sales reps know the name of like the person they're selling to in fucking Red Deer, Alberta, or in Sudbury, Ontario. Like that's what I love. I love that aspect of our business, and I want to multiply that in the US, and what it gives me is like a significantly more profitable business, because I could just give all of my margins away to distributors, get into every store in North America, and then maybe someone would buy my business at some point, but like that's
solely based off of the brand that you have.
Yeah, and like our footprint across North America and whatever, and that's one way to build a business. But like for
like
me,
there's no right or wrong way. So
no,
and like
exactly.
your strategy, it makes sense, your strategy, and it just if you're gonna go in with high margins, I mean that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, because you're going after the margins, it's going to take, or your hypothesis is it will take a little bit longer for you to kind of enter into the U.S. market because you're doing everything yourself. And yes, those margins are higher, but the learning curve is probably going to be a little bit longer. Is that safe to say?
Exactly.
Kind of.
And it's not relying on someone else to build our brand, right? Because like a guy from a distributor who walks into a store, he's got a catalog with 300 products in it. He doesn't know the story of Smoke Show. He doesn't know that like. He doesn't know anything. Nor does he give a shit. Nor does he have to.
You guys are, and again, there's pros and cons to everything in life. And like one of the pros of basically when you take in more of the procedures your place as a business is you control the client experience a lot more.
Exactly.
Like we're trying to do the same thing all the time. It's great to work with distributors, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Why would they promote your brand when they are carrying a catalog of 500 brands or 50 brands? They don't give a shit. They want the order.
Exactly. And like when I hear my sister on the phone from like this, a lady, Rhonda from fucking Saskatoon, like she's like, "Hey Rhonda, how are your kids? I heard no. Last time we spoke, your kid was sick." And then like it's those little things. Yeah. Like my sister's not a salesperson. She's not a shark. Yeah. Everyone likes to buy something, but no one likes to be sold something. You know? And like that's it. They're like, "Oh, the nice girl from Smoke Show's calling."
That is the art of sales.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And that's like what I try to like get into my sales team's head. It's like, don't call them and just
don't be salesy.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is so cliche in the sense where it's like everyone who manages a sales team says that, but my sister just calls them and she's like chatting with them. How's the weather there? Oh, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, so send us a case of each." Like, well, we'll hold on. Do you know what I mean? And like she might like convert, and like my other employee Alex, who is doing the same thing. Like they're so personable, and they're so like disarming, that it really, really helps. And again, we're selling sauce here. We're not selling nuclear warheads. Like it's fine. Like you tried the sauce, you like it or you don't. And if you do like it, Like, we'll sell it to you, and the customer service is amazing. They have a direct line to their sales rep, and that's it, you know. So that's the business I want to build, and I like doing it, you know. I love seeing the growth. I love at the end of every month, I look at the amount of stores we sold to, how many of them are new, how many of them are recurring, and I love it, you know. We're closing so many new places. It's just great.
So you sound you sound very passionate about this.
I am
Because I
because
could tell.
in a way,
like
it's a
you,
new
you,
business.
you enjoy the process.
Yeah, and it's very different. It was this year was like retooling all of our sales and
Yep.
and manufacturing. Because at the end of 2021, we had like a huge year. We were still with distributors. We had our biggest year in terms of revenue, but our bottom line was a joke.
Yeah.
And I was like, this. What am I really doing?
We need to
here?
fix something here.
Do you know what I mean? Well,
Yeah.
that was it. I was
Yeah.
like, it was just like I had a shit salary, and then I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, what am I really doing here? You know?
Yeah. A lot of people get surprised when there's a lot of these big brands, especially like retail brands or in a lot of different industries. And yes, the revenue might be really high, but if you're not running your company properly and logistically, et cetera, a lot of times they're not making nearly as much money as people think.
No. That's it. It's like trying to like for a long time, I relied only, and maybe when you're like very early on, yes, revenue is a great metric to
Yes.
like, for like growth, right?
Yep.
But at a certain point, especially, and this is very personal, but like, you know, I have a kid on the way. I had a kid on the way. I now have a kid. You know, we bought a house. No. I was like, what am I really fucking doing here? Like all of that work for just nothing, you know? So I like to make the analogy of like building a business and relying only on revenue as like the sole metric is like trying to fly an airplane with only one instrument on your
Yep.
instrument panel. It's like
Yep.
it will give you an idea of like where your business is going. Absolutely. Of
Well,
course.
that's why if you look at a company on the stock market, or you know, revenue is definitely one of those things. But there's all these different metrics that you can look at, and there's like you can't just take one metric to get the whole entire picture of what the business is doing. You have to kind of mix and match and use a bunch of it.
Right, because
And-
the way that I've built my business now is, I could do half or a third of the revenue of another business, but literally doubled profit.
Yeah.
Like bottom line. You know.
Yeah. And it makes a difference. Revenue definitely isn't the only thing that
No.
people should be looking at.
No,
And
and
like
yeah.
what I always look at now, and you know, a couple of years ago I used to just look at growth. I look at profit now, so
Yeah.
earnings and stuff like that. I had another question. When you started up, and it doesn't sound like you did need this, but maybe I'm mistaken. When you started the company, did you have to go ask or borrow money from someone or get funding from like a BDC or something like that? Like, how did you get started? I understand the fact that you started off small, you were building everything yourself, so the capital expenditures, it's not going to be that intense on cash flow. But once you kind of had a business and the infrastructure was starting to build, you had your rent, you had all these
Yeah.
other costs, did you have to go ask to borrow money from?
Well, you know, it's funny. I didn't have to go ask. I was approached by Mish and Andy Menares, who,
Okay, cool.
at the time, you know, had inherited their father's garage door opening business.
And the father passed away like suddenly.
Yeah,
eh?
it was brutal. He was a
Yeah.
fucking legend, super nice guy, and you know, as Mish would say, and I'm not saying this, you know, in any sort of funny way. He goes, "My dad's head fucking exploded. He had an aneurysm. He worked himself hard. Like he
Yeah,
was an
I
old
heard.
school business guy, and
Yeah.
he just went for it, and that was it. You know, he had a brain aneurysm and passed away, and his kids took over the business. But it was an old school business, you know. He had it built a certain way, and I think that they were bored. They didn't want to sell. You know, we're talking about kids in like their 20s. Like they didn't want to like be the garage door opening guys, and they
Yeah.
were kind of watching Smoke Show on the, you know, from the sidelines, and
It's a cool brand.
yeah, exactly. And they were like, "Hey, let's go for dinner. Like we want to talk to you about Smoke Show." So I spoke to them, and I told them. They were like, "Do you want investors?" And I was like, "Listen, do I need investors right now? No. Like I'm basically operating a lemonade stand. Like I don't need investors. But do I see myself selling equity in this business one day? Yes, absolutely." Then they were like, "Well, at what point?" And I told them at what valuation I would ever want to sell equity, and they were like, "Okay, so they're like, at that valuation, would you sell us 25%? And I was like now? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, at that valuation. And anyways, so yeah, they invested in my business.
Well, do you want to say what the valuation was?
At the time,
Yeah. And so this is when you have nothing. You just have an idea.
yeah.
a little bit of a brand,
I
and you sold a couple cases.
Is $1 million.
That's what the valuation was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said, I want 250 grand. I'll give you 25% of the company.
Yeah, around that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They bought 25%.
They bought 25%. Okay. Are they still shareholders in the company?
Yeah.
Nice.
Fucking right they are.
Nice.
These guys, dude, we were doing $3,000 in revenue. Okay. Those boys took a gamble. It wasn't an investment. It wasn't like, oh, look at this huge company.
That's an
like,
angel investor, right? That's
absolutely.
Like, yeah.
They were.
Well, they're not investing in the company. They're investing in you.
Exactly. And that's really what this was. They saw the potential. They're like, let's get in now. Whatever. Like it didn't really matter, and to them, it was like a fun project. They were able to help out. We worked out of their offices down the street for like a while. Super nice. And it was like it in the literal sense, it defied any sort of like fiscal logic. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just like, no accountant would have been like, good idea. Like, yes, like invest in this business. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
but
most VC firms, most venture capital firms, don't have successful investments. I mean, if you invest in 100 companies, I think the ratio is like 80% of them are going to fail.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's and you'll always hit that. And the big VC firms are typically the companies who hit the home run. So the guy that went into Facebook, the guy that went into Google, the guy that went into Apple, the guy that there's all these stories, and they basically just get super fucking rich off of that one investment.
Exactly.
And like, look, is there some due diligence involved? Of course, but there's also a lot of luck involved. I mean, if you're like one of those early VC firms to invest in Facebook, there's a lot of luck involved in that too.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it was a great, like, the timing was perfect. And not only that, they're like the best business partners in the sense where like they're basically silent partners. Like
they're
hands
not off.
Oh yeah, dude, they're amazing. We meet once a quarter. We'll talk shop. Like, I'll let them know. But they're off doing their own thing. We don't really speak regularly. They trust. It's like it like boils down to trust. They trust that like I'm doing what's best for the business.
Those sound like great investors.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, there's been times where we did need more cash, and whether they did a little quick loan here or there, or introduced us to their guy at the RBC or their guy at the BDC or whatever it was. Like they basically facilitated our access to cash at a very early stage. I mean,
which is important, and that's one thing that all business starting up, you need to have the cash or you need access to capital. And there's a lot of industries or a lot of guys that are starting up that they don't fully understand that. I was having that discussion with one of my buddies the other day, and he works in like the hospitality industry, and that was just something that I keep banging it in his head and stuff. Like I'm fortunate enough, we work a lot with Intact Insurance. They act like a bank, and it's no secret. But you need to have that. And if you have like a recipe, whether that's a contact, whether that's a bank, whether that's a VC firm, whatever it is, if you have access to capital to try and grow your company, I mean, you're probably, and you have a good idea, you're probably going to be successful because you need to have the cash to grow.
Yeah, and especially when I needed it most, which was like we're talking like in 2015, 2016, like this is day one.
You have no money.
No. And I have one product.
Yeah.
And I'm selling it to 20 stores.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, I have to, like, I won't be able to like live.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, don't worry about that. Like we'll put some cash in it. We'll fill the tank with gas and then like just go for it, And it allowed us to like really like do shit,
And I find too, like when that you have that stop, when you have that backdrop and that you already, I just had a deja vu, I don't know why, but when you have that basically protection and you have capital, it allows you to go and focus on other things, and you're not stressed, especially if you hire someone. You're not stressed on paying your employees. You're not stressed on basically like, fuck, do I have enough money to like purchase the next order from the manufacturing company?
Exactly.
Do I have it? Just like it allows you to focus on the actual business.
Yeah, and it without that money, like, I'm not sitting here talking to you, like, no chance, because I at the time we were gonna sell one product, like we were fucking a Red Bull. Like I was like, yeah, we're just gonna sell this one hot sauce across the world. Like it was so crazy. Yeah. So now, obviously things have changed. Shout out Misha and Andy, those guys. you know, they've just done really good things for this business, and like they just get it. Like they don't come, you know, like, so they invest this money into our business, and then like for like the 4 years following that, or like 3-4 years, whatever, following that, like we're like not profitable, we're burning cash, we're like, but you know, revenue's increasing and whatever, but never busted my balls about any of it. Yeah. It was an angel investor. Yeah.
I remember around this time, so let's call it 2015, 2016, and you used to have all these YouTube videos and stuff like that. So you're doing like the digital marketing. You were working with 5 Pound to basically make the videos. I was watching them before.
Did you share new videos?
Yeah, your do-it-yourself stuff. I was watching those. Yeah, I watched the recipe with the filet mignon and the homemade hummus, and I watched all that.
Smoke Show home videos. Go watch it.
Yeah. So it's like, why did you do that, and why did you kind of stop? And is the do-it-yourself videos, is that kind of you trying to restart that up again? Because I remember at the beginning when Smoke Show came out, and I guess this is just to make like the boom and kind of let everyone know that you were here. We're the new kid on the block. This is Smoke Show. This is the sauce. Like, why did you stop? I guess no. Here's a better question. What is your marketing strategy right now? So obviously you have like the cold hard sales, I guess, like door to door, and just like calling people up. Hey, we'll send you some sample cases, all that stuff. Do you have a digital marketing strategy or a traditional marketing strategy for that point to complement the old school sales approach?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I mean, I'm not reinventing the wheel, but we have to, you know, it's marketing a product, but also the brand, you know, and I think where I'm taking this is like, I want people to really see like behind the scenes, like really what this brand is about, which is cooking, using it at home when you get home.
And that's always one thing. I started to interrupt. I just want to say, it's like, that's one thing where companies that only rely on old school sales, there's nothing wrong with old school sales. It works. I'm not saying that. But if you want to build a brand, you have to have marketing. You have to like it's and I'm not saying you guys aren't, but there's like a lot of old school sales guys, and they don't understand that. Understand that part about it.
Exactly. So the angle we're taking right now is to just look. People love associating a brand to a person.
Yeah.
Obviously, as you can tell from this conversation, I breathe and bleed.
You're Mr. Smoke Show.
That's it. So so that person obviously had to be me. I come up with the products and whatever. So but you know, kind of like, I guess why you're doing this podcast is like I just wanted people to be able to spend time with me and the products and like get to see like really what my life is and like why I'm doing this, you know, and I use the sauce the same way. Not the green one, but all the other ones the same way that anyone would, you know, like I get home from work, or I'm making a lunch and I put it in a sandwich, or I make a vinaigrette or whatever with it, like the same way you would. And like, I wanted something that was repeatable. I wanted something that was cheap. Like those videos that I made when, you know, a few years ago when we started doing all these restaurants, like they were like, you know, expensive, man. Like you know what I mean? So
we've made a couple of videos with 5 Pound as
love
well.
5 Pound.
They're great. They have a great product and stuff.
My dear friends, those guys.
But I mean, they're not cheap. Well, not.
Yeah, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, it's like, but any video production company, like that's the price. That's the cost of what it is. They have their cost that they have to spend and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's. I'm not saying they're ripping you off. It's just it's an expensive process to get a video production.
Of course.
And if you want to have something,
that's why if you look at Smoke Show home videos, there's a big difference from that to. But I don't give a shit. Like for me, you know, I understand if you have a real estate company and like everything needs to look polished and clean and whatever. Like that's not what we do. Like you know, Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews are shot on an iPhone. Like you don't need to be super polished. And to be honest, like I like the idea that I got a guy who I pay barely nothing, pretty much free. He comes over and we shoot these videos together. We have a blast. It's done in an hour.
Does he do the editing too for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the same thing, you know? Yeah. But then we put it on our website. It lives in this little ecosystem where it's hosted on YouTube. It's on our website. The website links, like the recipe links to the video, it links to the products, and like we're starting to see more people like coming to our website because our website converts, but we just have traffic. Like we don't get a lot of traffic.
Well, how much traffic do you have to your website every month?
Well, I don't know the exact number, but it's like I said before, it accounts for 5% of my revenue,
Got it.
but it converts at 5%. So
So
the
if you have
conversion
100
rate,
visitors that go to your website, 5% of them are
conversion
gonna buy.
rate is really high. Obviously it would drop if we just start like getting to, but like I hired someone in January 2022. I hired a girl who she was working at L'Oreal. She was like managing, millions of dollars of one of their brands online, specifically buying media, buying ads, managing this, doing that. And I brought her in because we had a few really good months online during COVID. I was like, oh, this is cool. We sell directly to consumer. I love online. I love knowing that the email of the person that I bought from me, I can send them a newsletter. I love e-com.
I would assume that for in the e-commerce, typically speaking, that the average order would be less than your B2B sales, right? 'Cause it's like,
Average order online right now is $100.
Yeah.
On the nose, because we give free shipping at $100. So everyone's buying $100 worth of sauce.
Yeah.
But an average B2B is 1,000 more or less. So so it's like, okay. And then as COVID restrictions started, disappearing,
easing,
people just stopped are a
Ordering
lot less.
online,
Like across the
yeah.
board. I mean, you see it. Shopify laid off like fucking
A lot.
thousands of employees.
a
Like
lot.
the thing just kind of slowed down. It kind of corrected itself, So so I just want to build something very organic. I don't want to buy ads at all. I just want people to like get to know Smoke Show. It's here to stay, and like I want them to like kind of just really truly watch, get to know the brand. Like I'm a big documentary guy, and I literally see Smoke Show home videos as like a documentary into like what this whole brand is about. It's what it is. It's just an excuse to like, it's like I gotta cook something, but really it's like the interactions that I have and like cooking this food and whatever. It doesn't need to be super high and polished. What I really wanted it to be was repeatable, scalable, something that I could do. I always have to eat, right? I'll always come home and cook dinner for my wife. So like that's not going anywhere. So I knew consistency was key.
So you plan it. You want to keep producing these videos.
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
like literally until the business is done, I'm gonna do Smoke Show home videos because there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
There's literally no reason.
Yeah.
He comes over Thursday morning, we shoot a video, and
How
that's
many
it.
do you have now? 2 or 3?
We're gonna launch the third one tomorrow, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's it. We have like 3 or 4 in the bank for the holidays and stuff. But it's that to me is what I like. It's our marketing strategy. It's for people to see that this business is not full of shit. It's like a
It's
just
human. It kind of humanizes the actual
exactly.
the hot sauce itself.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So your brother's a partner in the company,
Yeah.
but he doesn't work there anymore.
No, all my partners are silent.
Got it.
I'm just in the trenches.
And your brother, but he helped you start the
Yeah,
company,
yeah.
and then now he just came out with the show. You were saying
Yeah.
this
on
this show
Crave.
sounds badass. I want to watch this.
It's
A
a documentary.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's like a 2-hour documentary on Crave. It's called Kings of Coke.
Kings of Coke.
My brother Nick Rose, he's a writer. He interviewed all the guys. It's about the Irish mob in Montreal.
These were all the guys. So they lived in NDG, Point St. Charles, all that area there.
Yeah.
Like right where I live in Point St. Charles, the old, I think it's Fugazi Pizza now,
Yeah.
used to be a West End Gang bar, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the bar.
Griffin Pub. It was
Is
called.
that what it was
Yeah,
called?
Yeah.
And it's like all the gangsters would be there and all.
I don't know. No, like
Must have been
no.
interesting to just kind of, 40 years ago, walk in and go, holy shit, fuck, I probably shouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, Point St. Charles. I used to live there as well.
Yeah.
It was a crazy neighborhood. I remember there was a bar called Chez Dallaire there.
How long ago did you live there?
I moved there in 2014,
Okay.
and I moved out I think in 2016 or 2017.
Was Chez Dallaire on St. Patrick?
It was on Wellington,
And what?
and like Ash, which is where my brother used to live.
Okay.
Wellington and Ash, right before the underpass that like goes towards Griffintown.
Uh-huh.
And I went there one night, like the hockey game was on, and it was like down the street from my house. So I just was like, it was like a Thursday night. I was like, I'll just walk over there. I love to go to eat at restaurants or alone. Not so much drinking alone. This story makes me sound like a crazy person, but I just wanted to go have a beer and watch, first period of the game. So I go over there, and like these dudes come up to me, like, with like the Irish flag and like a 4-leaf clover.
2016.
Yeah, and are like, hey man, like, where are you from? And they're like playing dice in the bar and shit. And I'm like, oh, like, I just live down the street. And then he's like, no, like, where are you from? Like, what background are you? And I'm like, I'm like very Canadian, and like I don't know, my dad's half Italian. If that matters, I don't think it fucking matters. And he's like, oh, all right, cool. He's like, we pretty much like run this shit. Like, don't start shit in this bar. No. Like, they were like hardcore dudes, and they ended up being my brother's neighbors, and like, yeah, they ended up like, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but they were just like hardcore guys. They were just like very hardcore guys. Yeah. It was like very real. Like, those dudes were like, he pointed to a street corner. He's like, I grew up in this neighborhood. First person I stabbed was right there on that street corner. That's what he said to me. Jesus. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, you like awesome. Hot sauce? You know what I mean? Like I grew up in Beaconsfield, dude. Yeah. You know?
Do you want to get a pack of Smoke Show?
Yeah. Exactly.
So, what are your plans? So I understand you want to, sounds like everything's going well here in Canada. You guys want to enter into the U.S. market?
Yes, yeah. Apply, like copy paste, basically.
What's your plans for, how many employees would you like to be in, let's say, 3 years?
I was working on this yesterday. It's funny. So I was like scoping out my next year.
Your budget, your revenue projections, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. By then, I don't know. I'd like my revenue to double every year at least. I'm really focusing on my net margin right now. Okay. I'm like becoming obsessed with the numbers of my business. I think that
when you're trying to go into a new market, because typically, at least this is what happens for me. So let's say, for example, let's say, hypothetically speaking, Canada's all figure out your margins are 50% or 60%, whatever. When you're going to the U.S., because at the beginning, is it fair to say that your margins are most likely not going to be 60% at the beginning, just because of the fact that you have to learn, you have to basically get the market share, and typically speaking, the cost of acquisition when you're trying to get a market share in a new market, like, it's typically not profitable right away. You're more concerned about just having people buy your shit by any means necessary and worry about the profits later. Is it work the same way?
Well, our process is really different because it converts so high. Like, because we send a starter pack to like a highly qualified lead, and because the pool is so big in the US, right now in Canada, our process is converting at like 57%. And an initial.
And when you say converting, so you'll send a free care package, and then half of them, one of the two of them will
say,
like
we love
customer.
It. Fuck yeah, send us your sauce.
Wow. Okay.
And then their initial, and like, the cost of sending that starter pack, it's $25 worth of product. Yeah. And it's $25 in shipping. So it's $50 to get that there. Okay. And then their initial order.
Do you even talk to them before this, or do you just ship it?
We just ship it. Everyone loves a gift. You know what I mean? And they open it and they're like, what the fuck is this? And then there's a note in it from my sales rep that says, hey, I'm so-and-so. I work for Smoke Show. We would love to get our products in your store. Obviously, the person's going to have it with their lunch. They're going to be like, oh, these are good. And then we see on FedEx or Pure Later, whenever, when it arrived, and we call them 3-4 days later. And they say, oh yeah, like, this is really good. Like, we want it. We loved it. The whole staff like destroyed your Dijonnaise or whatever. Like, send us a case of each. Oh, okay, no problem. We send them 12 cases.
This is genius, by the way.
It's $1,000.
This is genius.
Order and then like.
And so you'll have someone like your sister, for example, would follow up 3-4 days later. Hey, my name's Emily.
The process
from Smoke Show
is streamlined and it's perfect and it really works. So that to me, like, our cost. It's like the whole process is profitable.
This is interesting. Yeah. So you guys you're making your margins real quick.
Real quick, because we send out 10 starter packs. 5 of them are ordering $1,000 worth of sauce. So we send out 10 starter packs. It's $500. Half convert, at least, and they're ordering more or less $1,000. So it's spend $500 and make $5,000.
That seems pretty nice to me.
Yeah, and again, look, it has to be monitored and managed,
course,
and
of course.
it's
Do you
not.
guys
There's nothing in life that is like that.
Of
easy,
course.
but
Do you have a CRM internally now?
Yeah,
So to keep track of all this stuff, so you send an order, so it's going to be marked there. There's
everything.
a notification.
They move all of the cards through a funnel. Yeah,
Got it.
From a qualified lead to a closed one. They have all their stages.
How long did it take for you to? I don't want to say perfect because nothing's ever perfect. How long did it take for you to get from where you started to where you're at today in terms of the sales process and getting new business and new clients and new repeat customers?
Like to really not perfect, but to really get a good grasp of this process, it took like the better part of 2022 because we canceled our distributors in January, then hired, then started trained, hired, and then just
so in hindsight, this meeting that you had with this group of distributors in Vegas was a blessing in disguise.
It was.
It's the best thing that could have happened to you.
It really was. It made they forced my hand in a sense because I was so sure that when you're starting a food business that you need a distributor to live. They really beat that into your head, and I was like, I had this gut feeling that we could do it better ourselves, and we could sell less and still profit more, right? Because we were selling at such a healthy margin, but the opposite happened. It was a win-win. We
have more control of the process.
Exactly.
Now
Now
we're
we're selling more.
You do there's
our
just
recurring orders are up. Everything has changed.
You seem very happy.
I am. I'm relieved more than anything.
Interesting.
Because like I said, this month dealing with inventory issues. I went 8 weeks without sending out one invoice because we didn't have sauce. So that was money spent every week. A lot of money on paying my employees, on paying my rent, and not one penny being invoiced, So I'm chasing after receivables that are aging, that are dying, whatever. So it's been, and then in my personal life, having a premature baby, 6 weeks, spending 2 months in the hospital.
How's the baby? Everything's
chilling,
good.
Man. He's amazing.
Good. Yeah, Sonny, you said is his name?
Sonny.
Cool.
He's the real CEO, and he's growing so fast. He's crawling, dude. He's crawling. He's unbelievable, and that's it. So, but I was talking about this with my wife 2 nights ago. There were nights when was putting him to sleep, literally being I'm not gonna be able to send out an invoice of sauce. I'm not gonna be able to do this. There's no sauce. There's no inventory. There's nothing. I gotta pay my employees. I didn't pay myself for a few weeks. It was crazy. I would rather just manage and do all kinds of craziness. So it was an insane year. But the good news out of all that was, even though we had no inventory, my sales team was still on the phone and they were selling. So we had over, a lot. We had a lot of orders backed up. And
I feel like the people that you are trying to, or were trying to sell to at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to assume that everyone understands today now the issues with the supply chain and everything that's going on. Were they more understanding with regards to it? They're like, don't worry, we understand that there's basically a delay on everyone ordering or shipping shit. And send it when you can.
So that was a big thing that I noticed with our new model, was that hearing my sister be like, hey, sorry, Greg, our sauce is back ordered, I'm really sorry. And don't worry about it. What's he gonna do? Like I said,
it's probably the sauce, probably the 10th company that it's called.
Yeah, no one's freaking out, and if it's approached in a polite and transparent way, that's all these people want, is transparency. And you tell them straight up, this is out of our control. We do not manufacture our sauce.
And this would be another advantage to having this process internally, because you're not relying on another distribution company to call them up and basically just tell the clients, hey, don't worry about it, everything's okay, you're gonna get your order, because they don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck. That employee who works for a distribution company who sells a product that of a company that lives in Montreal, by the time
they're not getting that, they're not getting that call.
No,
it's not happening.
No, and so we in-house just gives us so much more control, visibility,
more nimble,
better numbers, more analytics. We can micromanage certain things. Oh, we can only send you 5 cases instead of 6. The 6th one will come next week when we get the inventory. So this year was out of control. It's by far the most insane year of this business, both on my personal life and you know, in my professional life. But now, like, the light at the end of the tunnel is here. We have a new manufacturer. We have, like, we're launching in the US.
And now
my
it's just-
sales team's like in a groove. They're just
And now it's just a
roaring.
matter of scaling the recipe that you guys have, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yes. It's literally applying it to the US, at least, you know, for the next year or two. And then we'll see. But I like, I'm hoping that in right now, you know, US sales are, you know, maybe 2% of my revenue, 1-2%. I'm hoping to get it to 50, you know.
I wish you luck with that.
Thank you, man.
I got a question before we end this thing
Yeah.
off. If you were, let's say there's a little Johnny down the street, and little Johnny wants to start his own, what's the saying, CPG, consumer packaged goods
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
What's one tip that you would tell little Johnny?
I'd say don't fucking do it. No, I would ask him really if he believes in it, he could do it. There's enough, you know, there's enough room for everyone. But I would say all that bullshit you see on social media, all that bullshit about working smart and not working hard, it's exactly that. It's bullshit. There's no easy way to do it, especially in CPG space. You have to fucking schlep, and you have to schlep non-stop because it's slim margin business. You're not reinventing the wheel. You have to always work your ass off. And don't believe, you know, that just because some guy likes your brownie recipe that in 2 years you're going to be, you know, driving around in a Maserati with the top down. Like, that's not how real life is. And there's a huge misconception on running a business, owning a business, that like, it's not glamorous. It's hell.
No, it's not. Yeah.
It's hell. The ups are like the highs are high, but the lows are fucking low, and you have to push always. And it's like, I think it was Warren Buffett who said, like, to succeed, first you must survive. Like, that's what it is. It's survival. It's like keeping your business alive, dude. Forget about revenue, gross profit. Like, for the first 5-6 years, it's like, keep your fucking business alive, and then we can discuss, like, actually, like, you know, hitting certain levers and like becoming profitable. But like, there's no easy way.
There's no secret sauce, pun intended.
No, exactly. Anyways, I'll leave it on that.
That was a good ending. That was a great ending.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me,
Mr. Rose. I appreciate you coming onto this podcast.
I hope people will listen and enjoy it. I don't know.
I hope so too. And we've been like splitting up. Joey's been doing a really great job, and Joey does all so he's the editor, does all the videography, all that kind of stuff. He helps out with like the social media posting, and he's been doing a good job. We're just getting our groove onto kind of releasing all the footage onto like TikTok and onto Spotify, etc.
Yeah. Do you rent out the space?
No, this is, well, yeah, we rent it out, but we have the most of the floor.
No. I mean this podcast studio.
No. This is KBD. This is property of KBD,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. We built this from scratch. Well, Joey helped build it, and it's
great.
It's yeah. Well, it's basically like what I wanted to do is I'm fascinated. I'm kind of becoming obsessed with. I want to build my own audience and build it. And this is not a podcast about insurance, but like yourself, everyone thinks
Thank
of
God,
Dave,
because I wouldn't know. I would literally just
No one
sit here
wants-
quietly. I
no,
don't know anything.
No one wants to hear about insurance, but the fact of the matter is like when everyone thinks of Smoke Show, they associate Dave Rose. I want people to, when they see Curtis Killen on the podcast, I want them to associate KBD Insurance and kind of get that brand tied in together.
Absolutely.
And so that people just like, look, I'm not trying to shove insurance down their throats, but whenever they need to make a decision, if you're a business starting something up, that will be top of mind. Hopefully, you know, they give me a ring or something like that. And hey, if they don't, then they don't. But this is really fun, and I enjoy also learning about new businesses, learning about different industries, and it's also good for other kids that are trying to start their own business. Like, I hope that this falls into the hands one day of someone starting up their own CPG business, and they're going to take something from today, and it's going to help them build their business. That's like the main priority of what I want to get out of this. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if I can give you some advice, and I think you're already on the right track, is just keep doing it, no matter what.
Yes.
I don't give a fuck if 3 people listen to this episode.
Yeah.
Like, just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's I heard this the other day too. Like Logan Paul, big star.
Never heard of her.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And he said it's something crazy. It's like for 4 years on YouTube, he had like 4,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one day, poof, one video hit and he caught fire, and he is who he is today. He's in a little bit of hot water right now. He was shitting on his guests. That's a whole other topic and stuff.
What's he in the hot water for?
On his podcast, he was talking. So there's this guy. There's 3 of them. There's Mike, Logan, and George. And George, yes, is he kind of like the third wheel? He is.
I saw Bobby Lee. I'm a big Bobby Lee fan. Bobby Lee lit him up.
He did, and like it's like, George, dude, it's like you're a comedian or you're trying to get into the comedian space.
Yeah.
If you're getting lit up by a legend, you
Literally.
fucking just take it,
Yeah.
laugh, and go with the punches.
That's it.
And I understand both sides, but Logan was, attacking. I'm not religious, but he was attacking the man's religion. You can't do that. You can't shit on someone's religion. Even if you disagree with it.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that podcast, but like I heard Bobby Lee talking about it, and
He lit him up.
It was like,
He lit
yeah,
him
it was
up.
great.
He lit him up. Yeah.
My brother actually had breakfast with Bobby Lee at Green Spot. You know what I'm saying?
When?
Like Bobby Lee came to Montreal for Just for Laughs, and my brother met with him, and my brother did like a 2-hour phone interview with Norm Macdonald before he died.
Yeah.
And he's working now on Vice. There's a show called Dark Side of Comedy, I think. Yeah. So my brother's writing for that, and he's doing like Dark Side of Wrestling now and shit.
Awesome.
But yeah, whatever. Logan Paul, man, like. I don't know enough about the man.
I will say this. I tip my hat off to get to the point where he's at, and it takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And I'll tip my hat off for that.
Yeah.
A lot of people love him. I'm sure there's a lot of people that hate him, but I think that's comes with the territory. Whenever you're,
I read recently he
public
was
figure.
involved in like this fucking monster crypto scam or something.
yeah, he was Crypto Zoo, and he's well, we'll see
like
where
it
that
was like a
goes.
mix of like NFTs and crypto. I was like, this is the most sketch thing ever.
Bro, there's all these like all the crypto space. A lot of these guys, they're not getting away with this, and when the regulators, it's like one domino falling after the other, and when the regulators finally, when they want to crack down, when they want to really crack down, there's going to be a lot of influencers that are going to be in a lot of trouble. I feel like he has enough money. He'll probably have the lawyers to get out of it, but there's going to be a lot of...
money is money. Like, that guy, Sam
Bankman-Fried, SBF, yeah.
Dude, he's locked
fucked.
up in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
like,
he's fucked.
He's done.
Yeah, he's
dude.
fucked. As he should be.
It's
As
so
he should be.
fucked.
Bro, you're stealing customer funds and using it to bankroll your life. You can't do that. It's so...
All right.
But
Well,
Mr. Dave
on that
Rose, Mr. Dave Rose of Smoke Show.
we did not accept cryptocurrency. All right? Like, you buy our shit. Pay fucking normal money.
Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
enjoy
It's
it.
been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been an honor to have Mr. Smoke Show on the show.
Lunchtime. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye. 2 hours, bro.
2 hours, we
Fuck
did
yeah.
it. Okay, bye.